Welcome to Really No Really. You haven't liked and subscribed yet? Really? Do it, or the puppets get angry. Now here's Jason Alexander and Peter Tilden.
Here we go.
Boy, your excitement levels.
This one's gonna be one.
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
This is one that you got excited about. You stumbled on.
Well, okay.
Onto this topic.
So,
and you really this kind of took a deep bite on you, didn't it? Wait till you hear what this
I got
is
obsessed. So first off, I should say to people listening, I don't watch YouTube videos. I don't have the time to watch YouTube videos.
You don't go down rabbit holes.
I went down an alligator hole. So let me say what happened. I see a story that's been on a lot of channels, a lot of places, I think CBS Sunday Morning, about Wally, this emotional support gator.
Alligator.
Alligator.
Right.
And in Pennsylvania, this gentleman who's rescued reptiles and loves reptiles, rescued Wally, who I think is now like 60 pounds and 5 feet long, and carries him like a baby, walks him on a leash, sleeps next to him in the bed. And I'm looking going, we got to talk to this guy. I got to get this guy on. I got to find out. This thing's going to bite him eventually.
And Wally is his emotional support.
He got it legally, his emotional support alligator. Puts his hand in his mouth, shows he'll never bite.
Right. They actually see him scratching the alligator's tongue.
Right.
Which would make any other alligator snap.
You would bite. If I scratch your tongue right now, you'd bite. How do you not bite? So he's really, but then, because I'm researching this, I get pushed out. This guy, Paul Bedard, who works at a place in Florida that does a reptile show. He was also on a show called Gator Boys. And he's there with alligators that are the size of a Winnebago on his chest, kissing them, carrying them, lugging them around, lying down with them, and they're not biting. And I'm looking at this going, he's who I want to talk to, because we can ask him if the other alligator is going to bite.
Really? No, really? Really? No, really? Really?
We got Paul Bedard on with us, who catches and rescues alligators that have been deemed a threat to people, pets or livestock. He was in Gator Boys, and he runs the Gator Boys Alligator Rescue Sanctuary, which is in the Everglades Holiday Park. And I became obsessed with you, Paul, because it started out with the story of Wally, the emotional support alligator. I'm watching the guy with that in Pennsylvania, my home state, whatever. And I'm watching, he's doing stuff with the gator, and I'm going, this thing's going to, one of these days, it's going to end badly. It's sleeping with the gator, he's doing the whole bit. And then he's taking it into a pool, and it's swimming with kids, and I'm going, oh my gosh. And then so we're going to get him on as our guest. And then it pushes out, because I'm doing research, you. And you're sitting there with Casper, who's the size of a Winnebago, and he's got his head on your lap. And I've now watched, I think, every video you have ever done. I'm so obsessed with you that it's amazing. And the takeaway, I'm sort of jumping to the end, but I think it's important how misunderstood I was as far as gators and how they react and what they are. So thank you for coming on, number one. But it's amazing what you do. So tell us a little about, I know Gator Boys was on for a couple of years where you rescue these things.
I think we did 6 seasons on Animal Planet.
Oh, wow. So how did you get involved with reptiles and specifically gators that you decided this is what you want to do?
It just happened. It wasn't like, I always loved alligators and sharks and stuff, but I grew up in New England. And then when I was out of college, I was racing triathlons like pretty seriously. So I would just couch surf up and down the East Coast with all my friends and take any job at any random bike shop or zoo that was dumb enough to hire me, because I was leaving in 3 months when the weather changed. And I started working at a small zoo in Hollywood on the native Seminole Reservation. And I just asked one day, where do you get your gators from? And they were like, oh, we just go grab them out of the swamp because we're on Seminole property, the Big Cypress. And I said, well, you should buy them off the trappers. They're going to kill them. And they're like, you want to waste $300 on a gator? Go for it. We get them for free. So almost to prove a point, I went and bought an alligator. And then the trapper eventually said, hey, if you want to save alligators, Mother Teresa, when I'm too busy, you could feel free to catch the gators that have too many to catch. And whatever you catch is yours. And then my life pretty much ended. So
how much expertise? Wow. So when you're going to catch gators, you're a young guy, how much expertise did you have on their behaviors so that you wouldn't get eaten or killed?
Well, I was really lucky as a young man. There's a guy named Manny Puig that a lot of this people these days don't recognize. He's the best animal guy that's ever walked the planet. Like, it's not even close to, no one ever rode a shark until Manny did it. No one ever went diving in the water with alligators until Manny did it. And as like an 18-year-old kid, I was visiting my friend Mark in the Keys, who's my camera guy now. Mark Rackley is the best. Like, he's in Venice right now, swimming with white sharks and tiger sharks on a sperm whale carcass. And I was dying to get up there and go with him, but I've got too much stuff to do down here. But anyway, yeah, he introduced me to Manny. And then like 18 or 20 years old, he had me diving in the Everglades with wild alligators. And I was like, we are going to die. This is the craziest thing ever. And he would go down and levitate this 12-foot behemoth off the bottom. And I just was blown away. I couldn't even imagine you could get away with that stuff.
And that's an alligator that he had no experience with. So it's not something that he had built any kind of rapport with.
Right. 100%.
What? Now, what? Okay. How? Why would they not naturally be fearful of him or feel that they were being threatened in some way?
You're the smartest guy I've talked to in a long time, because you said fearful, which is exactly the case. Everybody says they want to eat you. Predators in general want to eat something smaller. They want to risk being the meal themselves.
Right.
So they want to go after something like a gator, 8-foot gator, typically raccoon, possum, fish, bird, something like that.
Yeah.
They go after something my size, you could end up with a panther that eats you. So they generally don't want to eat us on land. It's why you walk up on the golf course, they jump in the water and take off like they stole something. But in the water, I get attacked all the time because I go in the water to catch these guys and they beeline for me, which is great because that's how I catch them. I go in the water, splash around, I put the noose up, they swim right into it. Now we got a gator and a leash, and I pull them out.
No, that is lucky.
What if you misjudge?
That's fortunate. No, misjudge. I totally get what he's saying. I would feel so lucky to be in the water.
Wow.
Swimming right towards my noose. I'd go, good day. What a great day.
Yeah, just don't miss the noose.
That's what I'm saying. If you miss,
sure, caveats, of course.
Wow.
But.
Right. But underwater, it's different. Underwater, they've got that nictitating membrane over their eyes. So the vision isn't great. They see a shadow about the same size as them. They're not going to think anything different than that's another alligator cruising through the swamp. Nothing attacks them underwater. So why would they think we're any different?
Paul, may I say something? Because I watch, and I love you. I love your personality. I love what you do. But with me, with cars, with anything that happens in my life, I get the one statement, which is, wow, never saw that happen before. So you're saying they never do it, they don't do it. And I watched, the thing that I love the most is that you always get posts that say, well, it's going to happen eventually. And you laughed and said,
give me a day.
Yeah. What? Give me.
That's like driving your car. One day, if you drive your car long enough, you get into an accident. Thanks, Einstein. Like, yeah, anything can happen. And listen, if you read the post that I try to respond with a lot of cut and paste posts, but I try to engage with people. And yeah, I get bit all the time. I've probably been bit over 50 times. I've been bit in the head 5 or 6 times, but not by those puppy lapdog gators. It's a gator that I'm rescuing or a gator I just caught and I can't build that relationship with. With every Casper, with every Zeus, Stumpy, Sebastian, et cetera, there are 15 or 20 more I just can't build that relationship with. There is an inherent mellowness to some of those gators. Like I've got a gator named Jigsaw. I did a YouTube video about him. The day I caught him, I looked at the camera and said, I guarantee you in 2 weeks I can pet him in the face. There's a depth in their eyes sometimes that I don't know how to explain it, but I know when I see it. It's only happened about 20 times, but I could pet him in the face the 4th day he was in the pit.
I do notice though you got a little bandage on your left hand there. Just anecdotally for people that may not have YouTube.
I don't ask you about your failures.
No, but you don't have to ask about mine. They're fairly well known.
I'll do some research then to bring them up next time.
So the thing that got me
that's actually I wish it was a gator. It was a chainsaw blade. I was trying to sharpen a chainsaw in my truck in the rain because I'm an idiot.
So for people who haven't seen the videos, and we'll link to those videos, Paul's lying there. Some of them look affectionate toward him. I love that some come when you call their name. Now, they got a brain the size of a lima bean, so I didn't know that they have this behavior.
Well, that's the question. I mean, are gators... They respond to you in the way that I would think a cat or a dog might, and a dog is a pretty smart animal.
It's all food driven though. They're coming. I've got gators I've got a gator in another facility named Bandit. If I call him, he walks over, just lays down. Most of them walk over with their mouth open, like they're expecting something. Like, hey, I did your stupid trick.
Right.
Where's the reward? And Bandit's the same way, but not all the time. He knows he may get it, he may not get it. Whereas, like, if you see this video, I just posted on Instagram, I reposted one of me and this gator named Snoopy. and I chase him and tickle him. But he walks up, opens his mouth right in my face, and I just look at his mouth. I look back at the camera. I throw him the food, and then I go like tickle him. He just runs back in the water. I can't cuddle with that gator. He's a little too jumpy for that. That's why he kind of reacts to the tickle monster thing.
Wow.
Well, okay, so the gator,
The learning curve on that, by the way. Oh, this one not so much.
How do you so?
I think
No, incredible.
Just tickle this one.
That's a great point. I always say in my YouTube channel, Gator Boys Outdoors, it says at the beginning, like, hey, they're all very unpredictable. From one to another, though, I mean, like each one is unpredictable from one to another. Within themselves, incredibly consistent animals. You got to understand the operating system in a gator's brain is so much smaller than that of like a mammal or a primate, especially. Like they have emotions, they hold grudges, they get their feelings hurt, they plot and plan. Gators are like living, breathing machines, pretty much.
But you know what? There were studies, Paul, and I'm sure you're up on this, that showed they wanted to know gator sentience, what they felt, and they came up with that they feel anxiety, distress,
100%.
frustration, excitement, fear, suffering, and that's about it. And I'm wondering, when you're with them though, since they're hunters and they want to be fed, how do you know when you're playing with Casper that you threw him 3 chicken legs and he's full? How do you know Casper's not going, well, I'm not there yet. I'm not at the buffet's not closed.
It's actually the opposite. You don't want to feed him before you get in there because Casper's got cataracts in one eye and the other one's probably almost completely blind. So his vision isn't great. So if you feed him and all of a sudden you go to touch the side of his face, he might think you're feeding him again and grab it. It turns on that feeding response. Gators in Holiday Park are just like that. Like Godzilla's a sweetheart. I can kiss him on the side of the face. I'm not going to do it for a few minutes after I feed him because he still has that feeding response. He's not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but he's a sweetheart in general. But that feeding response there's one where the gator's on my lap. His name is Stumpy, and I stand up. He slides off. He follows me over, and I call him up the ramp, and I feed him. So people think they're just stuffed with food. It's got nothing to do with that. They're not going to ever view me as a food source. I'm too big.
And they can go, because I know that they lie there. They're patients. That's how they hunt. They lie there and wait and expend as little energy as possible. But I read that they can go 6 months without eating if they have to. Is that correct?
A really large gator can go well over a year with no food. Absolutely.
Wow.
But you got to realize these guys aren't laying and hunt. I'm going in there picking them up and putting them on my lap, or they're walking from one place to another, and I see they're going for the sun. So I'll sit between them and the sun. And as they walk across me, I'll just lift my knee up a little bit, and they say, like, oh, it ain't worth it. And they'll just stop and lay on me.
It is amazing to watch you lie down in a pit with like 8 alligators, and they don't bother you. They walk around you. They walk over you. They sit with you. Now, do they like affection? Do they like to be touched, or would they rather not? Because I read that they're also sensitive around their head.
Yeah, I've got a gator named Hector that my friend Shanda, who's like this amazing ultra triathlete, I was trying to turn her into a wrestler at one time. So I'd have her in the pit and doing stuff. She's from Canada, but I was trying to get her to move here to be a wrestler and help me catch gators. But she used to lay with Hector on her lap for hours, and she'd like rub his jaw muscles, and his eyes would always just shut super slow. Like he was, if you look at the video, I tell that story. He's on my lap. Right. I talk about it. I rub his jowls, or it's his jaw muscles, and his eyes close. As I mentioned, Shanda. Like, I don't know if you remembered her or if he was just like, yeah, that's a pretty good spot right there. And I didn't know when I was filming it because it's on the camera side, so I don't see his other eyes against my stomach.
But that's what's amazing. They look like there's an affection, and I know you say there's not, and that if I do something stupid, I mean, you had the chilling one that I didn't see till after a while was you in the show put your head inside the gator's mouth, like a lot of times a day. And you misjudged. Bad stuff happened a couple of times, correct?
Just got to bring up failures, huh?
Well, I just want it because the fact that
absolutely. I used to be very. I have a lot of respect for the Seminole tribe of Florida. I knew Chief James Billy is a friend of mine, the former chief of the tribe, and I always thought if you're going to do a wrestling show, you do the whole thing the Seminoles did, and you put your head in the gator's mouth.
Right.
It doesn't hurt the gator in any way, whatever. But at Holiday Park, Everglades Holiday Park, we do sometimes 10, 12, 15 shows a day. So you jam in a head in the gator's mouth 15 times a day. Every once in a while, you touch something. And I'll tell you, of all the ones, Casper, who's like known, my buddy Chris has a lot of videos with Casper. He's known to be like super mellow. when I first got Casper, he was the nastiest gator I'd ever seen. He wasn't afraid. Most gators are afraid when you first catch them. People think they're aggressive. You walk in the pit and he spins on you. That's not aggression. That's fear. He's defending himself.
Yeah.
Casper wasn't like that. I walked in the pit and Casper looked at me and started marching over to me like, you're the guy that caught me and threw me in here yesterday. We're going to do it now. He did that for 2 weeks. Every time I go in there, he'd march out of the water and go after me. And my thought at that time was, if I can make you mellow, I can make anybody mellow.
Yeah. And
it took me like a good full 2 years. I mean, it was 2 months to really before I could even think about getting next to him without having a band around his mouth, because he was all offense trying to go after you. And then after about 2 months, something just clicked. And he was like, okay, I guess you're pretty cool. And from then on, it could, baby steps with a gator like that. He's a big, strong animal.
Right.
So you mess up. But again, you get there and it's like, it just clicks with him sometimes. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, he was the one. I put my head in his mouth and I touched something and he grabbed it and held, and then he went to crunch it. And I heard something pop and I almost was laughing. I was like, that's either your tooth or my head. And then he let me go, almost like, sorry, dude. And it was I only had him for about a year at that time. It wasn't like he was Casper like he is now.
Yeah.
But I remember just thinking when he had me, I wasn't thinking I was going to die. I was just thinking it's going to pop. Obviously, if it pops, I'm dead. But that wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's some defense mechanism, but I was just like, it's going to pop. There
But
wasn't any fear.
they don't let go. What I read was once they go to attack food, they don't let go, but he let go.
Yeah, that's a wild gator that has that mentality. I think he crunched once, crunched twice. It was like, oh wait, that's that dude. That's that guy. That's that guy that's always in here. Like, I get it. And I just sat in his back for 5 or 7 minutes telling jokes. So it's he
Boy.
knows it's me at that point.
Paul, when you, I guess 2 questions in one. When you add another gator into your herd, I don't know, they're probably not a herd. Do they have socialization periods, or do they immediately take to each other? And the follow-up to that is, can they sort of teach each other what the deal is here? I mean, can they?
I've talked about that with multiple people that have been there. Like, it seems like if you put them there, they get mellow faster because they see the other gators are mellow.
Uh-huh.
But it's not, like I said, for every one in there that's like that, there's 15 or 20 I can't reach. Like, I'll go in, when I first catch them, I'll go in the morning at like 6, 7 in the morning. I'll retape his mouth and just sit with him. And I'll read the Bible aloud. I'll read a magazine aloud. I'll text and talk on my phone just so he hears my voice and used to my presence, and nothing bad is really happening.
Yeah.
And just kind of see if I can build that bond. And within 4 or 5 days, I know. If I go in on the 3rd or 4th day and he's already spinning on me still, I'm not going to reach you unless I put a lot of work into you. And I don't want to stress him out to do that. So he goes down to the sanctuary with the rest of them, and the next 8, 9 footer I catch, we'll give him a shot. Wow. But as far as that socialization, it's funny you said that, because when I get a big one in, they don't want anything to do with them except for the other big guys. And the pit boss is Debo. He's like the boss of the herd, but he's the perfect dominant male. He doesn't bite anybody. He just gets him, opens his big giant mouth and pushes him around and lets them know, like, hey, I could destroy you right now.
Right.
But I've had it where I get a big one in and he'll walk out and start hissing. And other gators will just walk. I'll be sitting on the side on my phone, like right next to all the gators. And gators will walk past me like, hey, you're cool. I trust you. I don't trust that big dude. He'll walk right by me to get away from him. Sometimes, again, they get on top of me. They're like, just stop and lay here. I think they just view me as like another gator in the pit.
Have you ever? I don't know where I saw this, but I guess it was in the wild. That were 2. They could have been crocodiles. They may have been alligators, but they got into a tussle, and one of them grabbed the other one by a leg, a front leg, rolled and ripped it off.
Right.
Does that? I mean, is that?
Yeah, that's a crocodile feeding in. I think it was in Australia. And the croc rolled the leg off, ate it, and then the other croc ate right after he had his leg ripped off. They're unbelievable. Like, I lost the leg. Some food over here, please. Wow. It's their pain tolerance is amazing. What they deal with. I get gators with nose ripped off, legs ripped off. I'm just posting a video today of a gator had a tumor on his back about this big, but he had like 2 legs missing. We call him Lieutenant Dan. But He had one like a stump, and the other one was a foot was gone, and he was big, thick, and healthy.
Will they eat each other if they get hungry?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like big ones eat small ones all the time.
So if you have
That's
that
why-
inherent, and you're lying in there, none ever surprised you to the point where you went, wow, I really haven't seen that before. That's an unusual behavior.
In a wild gator, yeah, I've seen stuff that I've seen a gator breach before, like a dolphin, like swim, like, and then come out of the water. And I was like, never heard about that in my life. He just got scared. He got scared. I was trying to catch him. I went to put the noose on him. He wiggled out of it. And then as he took off, he just went straight up. And when I surfaced, he was in the air like this and hit the water. And I was like, holy cow.
I was in New Orleans with my son Noah, and they take you out on the bayou for the alligator tour, and they make them do that. They'll hold the bait, about 5 feet over the water, and these things just
and they'll wiggle out of the water.
Yeah.
So weird
But
how
this guy was vertical. This guy was like flying.
Wow.
He was just trying to escape and went up, and when he got in the air, he just kind of planed out and splashed down like a belly flop. It was amazing.
we're at a facility that Howie Mandel owns, and his son Alex just came in and showed me he was in the bathtub because he's done strange videos, but bubble bath with a small alligator. And the trainer said to him, as long as you don't freak out and you're calm, he'll be calm and you won't get a bit. Is that simplistic, or can they sense like an animal, like a dog can or whatever, if you're tense, if you're if you're in any way freaked out, can they pick up the vibe?
I don't think so. The small ones are more dangerous though, with like freaking out, because they don't have a lot of experience. Like the guys like Zeus, or like there's a guy, the most famous gator in the world, as far as I know, is a gator named Bubba that this guy Jim used to own. I'm talking over 100,000 people have sat with this alligator, no tape in his mouth. He's 10, probably 11 feet these days, and not one negative interaction ever. They're so, like I said, within themselves, they're so consistent. I saw a kid in Chicago. I went up to a reptile show, and Jim and Bubba were there. And it's the coolest thing. Jim pulls up in the van. He opens the door. Bubba walks out, walks through the front doors, looks around, sees the red carpet, knows that's where his spot is, walks to the red carpet, plops down for the next 4 or 5 hours. But I saw like a 5-year-old kid walk up and punt him in the face. And I was like, I hope that kid gets eaten. But Bubba just went like, turned his head and put his head back down. And even Jim was like, hey, he doesn't like that. Like, he knew there was like, hey, he might really aggravate this alligator. He's almost like, Jim said it, and there's a guy who's got more experience than me. I've been working with gators for over 30 years, but this guy, Terry from the Dragonwood Conservatory, he's got these beautiful black false gharials. Like the nose is that long, like 100 and something teeth, holds them right near his face. They're small. They're only like 5 feet, but it could rip his face to shreds. He's like, no, they're bite proof. And I was like, I'm hesitant to say that, but that's exactly how I feel about some of the guys I have. People think it's a joke. If I whacked them in the head as hard as I could, they would just be like, I thought we were cool, and they would just walk away. There's no doubt in my mind.
So have you seen the video that Peter was talking about this gentleman, what's his name?
It's Wally, and
the alligator is Wally, but he has certified it as an emotional support gator.
well,
Joseph Henney,
And there's videos of him taking it to a local swimming pool where the gator's in the pool with kids. They're all swimming around. He opens his mouth. Both his owner and the kids are petting his tongue. And as you say, that's usually a cue for there's something in my mouth, I should eat it.
Yeah.
Is he safe? Is it?
Yeah, he's been conditioned not to do that. Like if you, my buddy's got a giant crocodile in Africa, and I just saw it on video a few times, and I'm like, that's a puppy dog waiting to happen. There's one in Australia too. There's a 15-foot. They have this thing in Australia. I'm going off on a tangent, but there's this. It's called the tube of death, or the tank of death, or whatever. They lower you in the water, and a 16-foot croc comes over and tries to eat you. But it's this thick Lexan, so you're fine. But then they put you on the other side. There's a 15-foot female, and she's got both her front feet missing. That thing swam right over and just looked at me, and I'm like, you give me 2 months with that animal, you'll be free swimming in there with a mermaid suit on. There was a girl that worked there. I'm like, you could be worldwide in like 6 months if you spent time. You'd have to, obviously, you don't just jump in the water. You secure her mouth, get in, and if she's going like this, then you know she's trying to eat you. But if she doesn't, you'll just get that point where you can read the animal, and that's where all the Siegfried and Roy stuff comes up. people say that stuff about, oh, well, remember this happened, that happened. Yeah, but all the other, there's dozens more that where it didn't happen. It's about the guy knowing his animal. Like I said, I've got 15 or 20 that I can't do that stuff with. I know I can't do that with those animals, so I'm not going to try it.
So what
Like, I'm not
happens?
gonna-
You see people at golf course. What I've read and what I've seen is they have explosive speed for short distances, 30 or 40 feet. The thing can outrun a human. Correct? What happens if
Yeah,
you?
I mean, they're not gonna. If you're ready for it, you could probably out sprint them. But if you're just he comes out of the side, yeah, you're not gonna have time to even react.
So how do you? Any tip for if you're out there and you encounter an alligator or crocodile that's coming after you, and you can't get away?
It's too late at that point. He's not gonna.
Okay, there is no
They're not
tip.
gonna. They're not gonna come after you. They just don't. It's very rare they do that. There's a famous one that's been viral. Guy's running away from the water and the gator's chasing him. The guy's also got a little fish on the fishing rod. The gator wants that fish because he's probably been feeding that gator while he's there fishing. Or somebody else is doing it. And even if he didn't have the fish, the gator might chase you waiting for that free meal. That's why it's so bad to feed these guys. You teach them that people equal food. And they'll come up and they think, oh, if I get close enough, food is magically produced. It's not like the gators that we work with every day. A wild gator just knows, hey, if I go after that thing, all of a sudden food pops up. And if he gets close and grabs you, it's like, well, I'll tear a piece of this off and leave.
Did they know it's showtime? I mean, we had a friend who worked in the circus when the circus still toured and had animals, and those animals knew when it was showtime, and they knew to come out and perform, and they just knew the schedule. Do you notice that they do know the show times when you're ready to
No,
perform?
they know when it's feeding time, though. They know at the end of the day, we usually feed on Mondays. So at the end of the day, on a Saturday, Sunday, or a Monday, you see them start looking around towards the gate, looking for the 5-gallon bucket. But there is, when I do the shows at Holiday Park, I give them a little treat after every show. They follow me to the gate. I call them by name. They follow me to the gate. And I throw them a little piece of meat or something. There's a gator named Little Guapo. I used to have a gator named El Guapo. He's a big, handsome guy. And this one, his face reminds me of El Guapo. So I call him Little Guapo. And when he first figured out what was going on, after I was done with the previous show, he would walk out and lay in the show area. And I really think he was thinking, hey, I'll do another show.
If you
Give me
got
another piece of meat.
Right,
because he was, he was new and they're skinny when you get them in a lot. A lot of these gators that I get are emaciated. They end up in your backyard pond or canal because they've been chased out another area by a bigger, more aggressive alligator, or they're looking for better feeding grounds. And then all of a sudden, he's got free meals just for letting me sit in his back for 7 minutes and tell jokes. He's like, yeah, that's fine, dude. Like, I'll do every show. Just keep leading me to that gate where that food is.
Two questions. The gators that you've more or less, for lack of a better word, domesticated, could they go back into the wild and be just fine?
Oh yeah,
no problem.
100%.
Their natural behaviors would come right back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is, just for our audience knows, what is sort of the mission of your facility? What, I know you're trying to rescue, but you're also showcasing them. So is there a mission statement behind it?
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's more like just showing they're not these man-eating killers everybody thinks they are. They're not just out to get you. Like, there's, well over 1 million alligators in the state of Florida, and the people are around all the time. Like, I go in the water to catch them, and I can't sometimes. Like, I'm already in the water. You think they'd come right after me. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Again, it happens. It does happen all the time. I'll get in the water, gator will beeline for me. I wait. There's a video on my Instagram where I just pick the noose up. He swims right into it. And now I got a gator on a leash. And if you're not looking, and I've had that happen before where I've like there's a video, I haven't released it yet. I'm trying to make a YouTube video out of it, but I don't have enough footage, I think. But I swam down, noosed a 9-foot alligator. And where I caught him, I couldn't get him out of the water. There were too many trees around. So I was going to swim to the boat ramp, which is like 200-300 yards. So as I'm dragging him along, he's like bouncing over stuff and he gets stuck under a ledge. And all of a sudden, I heard there was 2 gators there. And I saw supposed to be a 9-footer and a 6-footer. So I see a gator way off in the distance, but I'm like, he's just sitting there. He's a little 6-footer probably. We're fine. And I get close, and all of a sudden, this guy's stuck under a ledge. And there's 2 voices in my head. The guy that wants to get stuff done and the coward. And the coward is like, hey, make sure you keep an eye on that gator because he might be on you. Because as I'm sitting there bouncing, trying to get this gator out from this ledge, I'm just bopping up and down in the water. So I look like a wounded animal. And then the guy who's trying to get stuff done is like, dude, shut up. Let me get him out of this ledge, and then we'll look. And then the coward speaks up again like, hey, if that thing took off when you started this, he's going to be in your face in 2 seconds. And I was like, okay, wuss. And I look up and he's like 3 feet from me coming hard. And I just kind of gave him the Heisman and tossed him back. And I tried to get him to come in again because I was like, all right, I'm ready for you now. Now we're gonna see what's up. But I ended up catching him, but I had to bring the other one to shore first. And there's 3 people on shore freaking out because they saw the whole thing. And they were filming, but it's at the beginning of my YouTube channel. Is the last clip on my little sizzle reel. You see me in the water, and all of a sudden this gator comes out, this big. They told me it was a 6 and a 9. They were both 9. They were both big. So I just reached out and kind of gave him the Heisman, like I said, and tossed him. But I wasn't thinking about that. They were freaked out like I was going to die. I was embarrassed that I was dumb enough to get that gator stuck on the ledge. And I'm coming out making excuses like I couldn't get him over the ledge. Like, I don't know what happened. They're all white. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, that happens all the time.
I thought they were going to see feet floating, body parts floating. So do you get pushback, Paul? Because I know you love these animals, that you don't release them back. Does anybody give you any?
Yeah, you can't release them. I wish I could. That would be my goal. But by law, by Florida state law, any nuisance alligator that is over 4 feet in length has to be killed or kept in captivity.
Oh.
As a trapper, you are essentially paid with the meat and the hide of the alligator. You don't get paid by the state to catch them. You get like a stipend of like 30 or 50 bucks, I think. But you don't really get paid for it. It's like, so if you don't catch an alligator, you don't get anything at all because all the guys that I know are trappers, they harvest them. So they kill them, they sell the hide and sell the meat. So to me, what that gator is probably worth $200 or $300 an 8-foot gator. Like Zeus is worth $1 million to me. You know what I mean? Like you got to get it, can sit in your lap and chill out. Like,
no, you can tell that you love them. You really love them.
I do. I hate trapping. I hate what I do every day. I just hate dead gators more. Yeah. I always want to give it up because I can't stand it. They belong there. It's not that hard to coexist with them. Don't swim in the canals. Like, go to the beach. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that hard to get along with them. If you got a dog, put him in a fence.
Yeah.
But if I don't get him, some other trapper gets my spot and puts a bullet in his head. So, and I always think like that might be another Casper, that might be another Godzilla or another Zeus. So
what is your? We were talking about this other gentleman in Wally. Do you have any feelings one way or the other about the notion of an emotional support alligator in general?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's like I said, one of my videos, I said the best thing about gators is that they don't love you back. It's like you can love on him all you want. He'll never let you down because you don't expect anything from him. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think that's fine. Again, if you look up Jim and Bubba, he would bring an 8-foot alligator into the hospital for Make-A-Wish days, and he'd have no tape on his mouth. When my friend Martha, who keeps Casper at her facility, when we bring Casper to the vet, he's in the van with no tape on his mouth. He'll walk up and sit between the 2 front seats, like, "Hey, we there yet?" Like,
and how much liability insurance does Bubba have? I would think he has to.
I don't know. Talk to Jim. I just talked to Jim yesterday. I want to do a
ask him. Yeah, ask him how much they have to have Bubba on the carpet, even though he knows he'll never do anything. I'd like to see the insurance adjuster go. So you're doing what with the alligator?
Yeah, I get it too. Like, the last couple of years in Chicago, he had a band on his mouth. They said he has to have a band. That's the only what the law said. The band was a hair tie. He would yawn completely wide open. But the environmental police were like, "We've known Bubba for 20 years. We know you can't, like, you can stick your fingers against his face and nothing happens."
So there's a woman.
Like, that's good enough.
I just saw in the news. And she's where you are, of course, Florida, who's fighting to keep her pet alligator. He wears clothes and rides an ATV. It's like she's had him for like 20 plus years. But she said because he's now over a certain length, she can't get him certified anymore. And she's fighting, and the neighbors are fighting to help her keep this alligator. And she said he wears clothes because he was in an environment that was dark. And if he goes out in the sunshine, his skin, it's not good for him. He doesn't like bright sun. So he's got clothes, sunglasses I don't know about. But when you see those stories, there's so much, and I read too the new, the hip pet for like drug dealers is an alligator instead of a pit bull now, you know? So a lot of people get these things and then they grow and they don't realize they grow a foot a year. So in 6 years, you got a 6-foot alligator that's very different than what you brought home as a cute thing. What do you feel about the alligator trade? I mean, it's huge, right?
Yeah, it depends. If you've got to me, it's fine. If you've got a good facility for it, it's been cleared by your local authorities, and it's a good facility for him. It's a good environment for him. I don't have a problem with it. Like people talk about the small enclosures thing. You look at gators that bromate in like northern Georgia, South Carolina. They'll dig a den in the bank. They're in there for 2 months, wide awake, staring at dirt. Like the rules in Florida, all you have to have, and Florida's pretty good with the size of enclosures and whatnot. They're pretty good about it. As far as like for the animal side, all for a gator, all they want you to do is have the gator to be able to lay out straight, get underwater a couple of inches, get out on land, turn around in the water and lay straight on land. That's it.
Oh,
but if you look at the Everglades is 3 or 4 feet deep in most places. A lot of places it's less than that. So they're used to shallow water. They don't need it's like a snake. Snake goes out of a hole, eats a rat, goes back in a hole for 3 days. He's not cruising through the forest checking out trees. You know what I mean? They don't have that.
But they do travel. They can go distances. I mean, there have been some released that go back home again. Have you had babies born and you're in captivity or no at your place?
If I get a female that's gravid or pregnant with eggs, I will put her in a different facility where she can go out and lay a nest in the back of marsh that they have at the place in Homestead. And they'll deal with them there. I don't know what they do with them. I think they just let them go back into the Everglades because it's a chain link fence, but babies go right through the chain link fence. So,
but they'll eat babies. They will eat. Other gators will eat the babies, 100%. Right?
Yeah, that's why the females will go in the back marsh to get away from the big males because the males will eat them up like gumdrops.
And they do sleep with one eye open, right?
Yeah, they don't really sleep. They're conscious breathers, so it's that unihemispheric brain thing if you're a nerd. And one half of the brain rests while the other half keeps everything going.
Oh, that's like Peter. So when you...
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a girlfriend like that one time.
Yeah, right.
Always had one eye open.
Can't sneak in the house. Yeah, there you go.
So I know you say you've been, bitten on a number of occasions. I always think, we see the movies, the alligator closes its mouth, does the roll, you're gone. You have clearly survived. So what's the deal? Why have you walked away from so many alligator bites?
Usually it's during a feeding. Like I get impatient at the end of the day, and if I'm doing a mass feeding, I'm just handing out meat like a dealer at a casino. I'm just like, here, you get one, you get one, you get one. All of a sudden, not one of the puppies. It could be the puppy. Those lap dogs, like I said, I'm not putting my hand in Godzilla's face 5 seconds after I give him a piece of chicken because he's gonna be like, oh, that's more chicken. I'll put my face in his face because he knows that's not.
Right.
But this looks a lot like a piece of chicken, so you don't put that near his face. But yeah, I'll have them grab me and they'll kind of shake and be like, hey, sorry, dude, didn't know it was you, and spit me out. Same thing with the head tricks. Put my head in the gator's mouth and got bit, 5 or 6 times. Either I taste like crap or they know it's me and they're like, hey, dummy, stop touching stuff in there.
But that wound is not a significant wound for you?
Man, pour bleach in it and stitch it up. If you look at, again, my YouTube channel, I got bit by a 12-foot gator in the arms, a big 12-footer jump. We used to do a show for a school group in a little gator hole, and a big giant 12-foot alligator would come out. You'd reach around with a stick, and he would just pop up and scare the crap out of these kids. But it's to show that, hey, you can be in the middle of the Everglades. You see a little puddle. Don't think that's a good place to fill your canteen.
Right.
There might be a 12-foot alligator in there. So we were trying to get him in the water, and the guy was behind him, and I'm tapping him on the nose because he'll jump at you. His name is Lunge. And he jumped, and when he jumped a second time, my foot hit like a tree stump that was in there, and I couldn't slide my foot back. So I tried to catch him, and as soon as, all the weight's going down, my arm is pushing up, and made my elbow go like that. And as soon as that flashed, he went over like instantly and just got one tooth in me and opened it up. If he had locked on, he probably would have taken my arm off. But I ended up teaching Jimmy, who was my partner on the TV show, I taught him how to sew that day on my arm. So we poured bleach in it and tea tree oil and start stitching, kid. So
you realize with us, if one of those things happened, that's a story for the rest of our lives. And we not only wouldn't go back in the water or near the alligator, we'd move from Florida back to New England, probably, where there are no alligators. You've been a really good guy. Notice you don't ever want to criticize. You're very careful about that. But I used to watch Steve Irwin, and what made me crazy about Steve Irwin, because he looked like a good guy. And there was that one incident where he went into the alligator or croc area with his newborn baby for no reason and holding chicken in the other hand. And he's antagonizing, basically, look what I'm doing. And there's no reason for it.
Right.
Were you critical? What did you think about him? Because he did antagonize. I used to say to Jason, he's pulling a sleeping animal by the rear end out of a thing and then parading it around. It's not just like being gentle or whatever. It seemed antagonistic to these animals.
In my opinion, I thought he was messing with the press. Like he's going to get people up in arms. He knows those animals. You know what I mean? Like he knows what that thing's going to do and what it won't do. There was the risk was limited, like incredibly limited. I mean, if he fell and whatever, who knows? But there wasn't much risk there for the kid. But I think he was doing it to get a rise out of the media because he knows how bad it would look. I think he was smart enough to know this is great marketing right now.
Oh, it did. It's so we're talking about it now. How many years after? Before we go, how long did these animals live in captivity? I heard in captivity they live longer than they do in basically in the marshes and the swamps.
Yeah, in the wild you've got famine, you've got competition with other alligators killing them, you've got droughts, you get all kinds of stuff. In captivity, I've heard up to 100 years. In the wild, 60, 70 is about maxed out. I think both of those numbers are short, and I think they're way short. I think it'd easily live 120, 30, 40 years. I'll never know because I'll be dead, but
well, Paul,
I think they could live that long.
It's fascinating. You should check it out. I've got family members coming down to see you that I didn't even know when I started talking about it. They said, we're booked to go there next week. And then and another group, too, that lives down there said, I'm going to see Paul. It's really fascinating to see because you misjudge what these animals are. I mean, you really have a preconceived notion, and then you watch this and you go, gee, pretty amazing that these dinosaurs who haven't evolved in 10,000 years because they're so efficient have a whole other side to them which is not apparent unless we see what you're
But
doing.
that said, I'm guessing, Paul, if you have a gator in the bed, it's probably just you and the gator. Am I right? It's not a lot of...
I would have. We did that for some reality show one time. We put Cracker Jack in a bed with this guy, and he was like, it was some. I don't know what show it was, but it was a bunch of nonsense.
Does the family ever say enough, Paul? It's enough. When are you going to quit?
Nah. What are you going to say to me?
That's right.
I guess not.
There you go. That's the thing we never said for about. What are you going to say to me? What are you going to say
to me?
If I said to my father, what are you going to say to me? Well, you got an opinion?
You're out
Come
of
on. You going to tell me I'm crazy? Yeah.
Paul, it's a pleasure. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Paul Bedard.
Stay
thank you for
safe,
coming
my
on,
friend.
man. Yeah,
Thanks
be safe.
for
Yeah,
chatting.
that's not really my thing, but thanks.
First of all, what a really lovely guy. You don't think that a person who is doing this is going to have quite that heart. I mean, he really seems like a lovely, genuine
But didn't you get
guy.
that from watching the videos? That part of it is
Yes,
for
you
show,
can
but
see
the other
that
part of it is he really respects them.
cares about these animals. He really, really cares
And
about
that
these
was a
animals.
big part of this for me. It wasn't just I'm fascinated by the videos, and it was that I misjudged the animal.
Yeah.
Because it's ugly, it's not cute. And so I looked up a couple studies. They did research studies, different universities, Lisbon, etc. And they gave, in one study, 11 dimensions on a 1 to 7 scale, including perceived dangerousness of the animal, capacity to think and feel, accessibility for humans to eat the animal, degree subjects felt care and protection for it.
Right.
And you check off the boxes and you see what the key thing is that makes you feel related to that animal, that it's sentient. So you can say it's smart, it's not. It came down to that the koalas, dolphins, all the cute species, cute, won over as far as sentience. Didn't matter danger or whatever,
Right.
it's about cute. Another study, cute response. Another study, cute response. No matter what it was, their cognitive abilities or whatever, their moral standing, the way humans look at them, is if they're
And
cute.
it's deceptive because koalas can be little assholes. They can mess with you. They can. A koala will slap you around.
When have you been in a room? Have you ever had a bad experience with a koala where you were trying to read and the thing was speaking? How do you know? All
We
of a
were
sudden,
in
wait,
Australia.
I'm with Jason.
The koalas in the trees,
Didn't
high
slap us around.
high on
So
eucalyptus.
a kangaroo kicked
I'm
the shit out of you.
kidding. No, kangaroos are little assholes. They are little assholes. Kangaroos,
But they're cute.
They're
You-
nasty,
there's something
but
called-
they are. They're beautiful.
So
looking,
we
yeah.
then rank animals not by intelligence, not by feeling. Beauty, speciesism,
Right.
is the way we do it. If you
Right.
got big eyes and you're
Yeah,
cute, you're
sure,
looking.
yeah.
Even go, you're going to rip my face off.
Yes.
Oh, you're cute.
Yeah,
so
very
you
sweet.
rank higher. We treat you better.
Yeah.
And that was an eye opener for me because I had no idea that an animal that was that scary,
Yeah.
that ugly, that reptilian, that dinosauric, if there's
Yes.
a word prehistoric, could do the stuff that these animals. The one
So do
video.
you feel tender towards it now? Do you feel like, oh,
I'm
what a
thinking,
sweet-
not tender, but I'm thinking about how wrong I was. When you see that they call alligator, they're all in a pit, and he starts going, Leonard, it's time for dinner. And the thing comes out, walks over, opens his mouth. He says, not yet,
Yeah.
not yet, pushes it down.
Yeah.
Okay, now, and the thing opens his mouth. Tommy, my wife, is sitting there looking at me like I'm an idiot until she saw the one where they're all lined up in a row waiting. And he's calling their names, and they're opening their mouth. She
Is
actually
that
went.
the one where James Bond runs across the
Going
back?
across the back. She actually went Oh, so because you don't understand that behavior, right? Until I saw these, I had no idea. So
Yes.
I opened my mind up.
So you
a bit.
get one? Now you're going to get one?
Never.
Come
Not
on.
in a million years.
Why
I'm not good with.
Cute,
I'm not good.
sweet.
As a child.
Outlive
as
you.
a child,
Wouldn't you never have to worry about losing the animal? It's
I'm not a
outlives you.
lizard snake person. As a
No?
child, I wanted a puppy. My mother convinced me she was allergic, which she was not, but she didn't want a dog because they have bowls on the floor, and it can dirty the house, whatever. So I had alternate animals that they picked for me.
Oh,
So
sure.
the one they picked was a chameleon. I never touched it. I never fed it.
Sure.
She had to
Yeah.
take care of it because it was
Yeah.
reptilian. I don't.
Yeah.
That's not
I had a gerbil, and I only had a gerbil because my mother said, "You're not getting a rat."
You didn't get a dog? No dog?
As a child? No, I never had
So
a
your
dog.
parents wouldn't get your dog either?
No.
Boy, those families. Families where you can't get a
Also,
dog.
in their defense, I was, until I was late in my teens, I was highly allergic to every animal
all
that
right,
moved.
all right, all right.
But
I still hold it against my mother that she lied, that we could have had a pet. I wanted a dog so bad.
I know. Well, that's why we made up for it as adults, my friend. You and I.
Yeah,
are
and I
little
just had
doggies.
to
I know
put
you
Dexter to
did.
sleep after
I
18
know.
years. What a harsh,
Okay.
but what a wonderful thing to have an animal that my mother deprived me of.
Yes.
Thank you, Mom.
Yes.
Thank you.
Speaking of animals that your mother deprived you of, David Guggelheim.
Well, that was an interesting experience with all the different alligator antics
Yes.
you can do in the great state of Florida. Of course, that's where I'm.
Yes, you live.
You are
there's probably
located
one
right
within-
near Alligator Alley,
You
I
could probably
believe.
throw a rock and hit one right now.
Actually, I could go about 10 minutes from here. I know I could find an alligator in the wild right there. But there are so many crazy different things in Florida that you could do. You know, we have Orlando here. We have the Everglades, obviously, where Paul is. Where you can go, see the show and go get a water ride to see all of them in action. I wanted to give you a little bit of a game. Can you do this in Florida? So
Okay.
you have to
Oh, I
guess
like this game.
Whether you can or you cannot do that.
I got you.
Wow.
Okay.
Is there anything you can't do in Florida? It should be wide open. All right.
Yeah, legal. This
Yeah.
isn't even legal.
Legal,
It's just
right.
getting
Okay.
out there and do it.
There
All
are
right,
certain
can
books you can't read in Florida. I know
Right,
that.
that starts. Okay.
Can you bareback ride a water buffalo?
A water buffalo in Florida. I'm gonna unless they brought it
wait,
in.
wait, let me
It's
ask-
not. It's not indigenous.
This is how nuts I think Florida is. For free? Or is it paid like in a school where they have the water bubble?
Let's
I say
split the
yes.
vote.
I say
and I'm
yes,
gonna
you can.
say no.
Yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
One
Hold on,
for
let me
Jason.
see. I see an
One
opening.
for
I see an
Jason.
opening.
All right.
Let's see. Can you see mermaids swimming as
Oh,
you
yes.
dine?
Oh, of
Yes, of
course,
course.
yes,
Oh, please.
sure.
Yes, of course. The famous Weeki Wachee, Florida.
that's right.
Great
where they've been
documentary
doing
on that.
Yes, they've been doing it since the 1940s,
Yeah.
and they're still doing it. Can you swim with the dead?
Swim with the dead?
Swim with the dead.
I need a little bit more info.
You mean like Jerry Garcia or actual corpses? What do you? I don't think you can swim with the dead. I really don't think that.
Are
would
they
be-
recently dead? Give me some context.
Yeah,
Are they
yes.
relative? Well, okay, so if my uncle
Yes,
dies and I
they
throw him in the
can be.
water, I can swim with the
Yes.
dead.
Yes.
I'm saying no, but it's got to be yes because there's something we don't know.
Yes.
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 You
It's
can-
called the Neptune Memorial Reef. It's off of Key Biscayne, Florida. And it's basically, they've manufactured gates, and there's lions, and there's roads, and you could put your cremated relatives in this cemetery, this underwater cemetery, and you could go scuba diving among and have time with your deceased loved ones.
Florida.
Yeah, I don't want to do it with ashes. I want to do it like Weekend at Bernie's, where you can actually take them in before you do the ashes.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they're dead. Can you visit the oldest city in the United States?
The oldest city in the United
oldest city.
States. Why would that be? In
He's going to say no, and then we'll find out where the oldest city is. See, I'm starting to think where he is.
Be in Florida.
No, the oldest city is probably not in Florida. It's a trick question. I'm trying to anticipate David, and he's smirking, so he's got a good tell.
Well, are we talking about like maybe it's an indigenous city, something that the indigenous people?
But I bet it's not in Florida. It's I'm guessing trick question.
All right, fine. No.
No, incorrect.
Because the oldest city is, here you go, see?
The oldest city is St. Augustine. It was founded in 1565 by Don Pedro Menendez de Alves of Spain. It is the longest continually inhabited city in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's see. Can you go under? I'll just do a couple more. Can you go underground and explore caverns?
Yes.
In Florida.
Well, no, wait.
I know there's
Florida
Crystal
have
Cave in
caverns?
Pennsylvania. I'm trying to think of the
Right,
underground stuff.
yeah. That's up north. That's like
I
Pennsylvania.
don't think so.
Caves in Florida?
No, I haven't seen a
because
snow
there's no
dome, no,
mountains. There's
no.
no caving.
We don't have basements, but we do have caverns. It's actually in the Panhandle, which is a little bit different. This one, that was a bit of a trick question.
Wow.
Last one. Can you see the second tallest statue in the contiguous United States?
That's a very specific. Why would that be a no? Why would he even ask that question if it was no?
And could you see it from a cavern?
Yes, you can see
can
the
you see it
second
from
tallest cat. You can see it in
You
Florida.
can see, yes, it's called the Dragon and the Pegasus. They're fighting it out, and it is I believe the Pegasus part is the second tallest, only to the Statue of Liberty. It's in the Hollandale Beach, Florida.
Hollandale.
Well, I got to tell you, this has made me want to book a statewide tour of the great state of Florida.
With the relatives' ashes. So you can do that.
Anybody's ashes.
And go to
I don't
cavern.
care. I'll pet a gator. Go
in a cavern.
I'll go to Orlando. I'll go to the second happiest place on earth.
By the way, the only place that I
I'll
ever
go
saw
in
a
a
gator
cavern.
in the wild actually was in college. My buddy and I drove to Florida
Yeah.
nonstop, and we went to the Everglades where there were bugs bigger than your head, and I had to pee. And I went to the side of the road to pee. And I got my schmeckle out, and I'm peeing, and I see this. And I run like you can't believe. I mean, it's right there. It's there. And we didn't get into it with Paul, but they can extend their mouths 90%, like straight up.
Are you saying that that's what the alligator would have
Well, he
done
looked at
to
me.
accommodate
He looked at, I knew you were going there. Yeah, well, maybe he was anticipating maybe his sight.
Oh,
was,
yeah.
He
I was going to go 40 degrees, but I think this guy needs a full 90.
Maybe he had the one eye closed. He was doing the ocular whatever thing. But yeah, it was like right there, and I thought, I'm not in Philadelphia anymore. This is a whole different.
Yes,
it's a
that's
different world.
Well, you know, the reason I'm less than, forthcoming about the state of Florida is my parents, we would go down every winter for, winter break. And I was 5 years old. I'd never seen the oceans my first trip to Florida. So we spent 3 days driving down, stopped at south of the border, stayed there over the night, right? Yeah. Finally, boom, here's Miami. We're staying at the Fontainebleau Hotel where my parents met. First morning up, have a little breakfast, and my mother goes, "There's the ocean, sweetheart. Run down. Go put your foot in the ocean." And I run down the beach, and I step on a man of war. And I get a sting like you can't believe.
And
I
you
went,
got the car to go
and
home.
I'm like, F Florida, F the ocean, F creatures, F everything.
And that's one more thing you can do in Florida.
That's right.
There you go. Add it to David's list. David, thank
David,
you.
nice to see you, sir.
Thank everybody for listening and watching. And Laurie, producer Laurie, thank you for doing the show.
Indeed.
And we will see you next time.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, his mouth.
I'm gonna go
He looked at
pet
me.
it.
He went, I got to go wider.
Yeah.
I need help. I got
Yeah.
to widen out.
Yeah.
I got to widen out.
Dream.